After nearly 18 years together, my wife is pregnant but, after nearly 18 years, PCOS, endometriosis, anemia, surgeries, a miscarriage, hormones, tests, heartache, tears, and thousands of dollars, it finally happened. The Mrs., 35, and I, 40, had all but given up hope on having a biological child, and it all happened out of the blue. On Monday of this past week, the Mrs. worked early, said she got to work and was feeling a bit off. Her ladies' time had been regular for the first time ever for about the last year. She was late a month or so, decided to take a pregnancy test at lunch, which was positive. Said she was going to wait until she got home to tell me. A few hours later, she began bleeding. She left work and called her sister, who is an RN, who said she was probably miscarrying and gave her advice on what to do. She came home. I could tell she was distraught, and when she told me, I was totally gobsmacked. Felt like a totally cruel joke that she would find out that she was pregnant and then start miscarrying hours later. On April Fool's Day no less. The next morning, she made an appointment with a doctor we had been to previously. The appointment was for today, Friday. So the whole week, we are both dreading that day. It was like a black cloud over our home, making everything dark and gray. It put us both in a bad place. I am rather ignorant of a lot of things concerning female anatomy and pregnancy and had a major panic over what she might have to physically endure. DNC? Surgery? Knowing that mentally, she felt less than a woman for not being able to carry a child. I have hardly slept a wink in days. We went in this morning and they started with an ultrasound. As soon as that little bean showed on the monitor, I saw a little flicker of rhythmic light flashing. Seeing that little heartbeat took my breath away. For the first time in my life, I bawled in front of my wife and a stranger. To make a long story short, she is almost 7 weeks along. The doctor said mama and the baby are fine. Nothing that had occurred up to this point was uncommon. He also stated that if the baby makes it to 12 weeks our chances increase greatly. We had gone to this appointment expecting sad news and left that office today with the greatest amount of hope we have had in a long time. I know a lot of women suffer from many of the same issues my wife has had. At one point, a different doctor had said it was highly unlikely that she would have a viable pregnancy at all. I know we are not out of the woods just yet, but I feel it in these old bones that our time is now. Even if this little bean doesn't make it to a full-blown human, it is still possible. There is hope. In the meantime, I am gonna pamper the poop out of my blue-eyed girl. Update post, 1 month and 1 week later. Myself, 40M, and my wife, 35F, had our 12-week doctor visit today as my wife is currently 12 weeks and 3 days pregnant. I am happy to report that mama and baby are perfectly happy and healthy to this point. The doctor remains optimistic and has been incredibly supportive in dealing with some of the concerns and anxieties that the missus and I have both had. This whole experience has been the best kind of overwhelming. I had lost hope for the future in the last couple of years. With sudden deaths, familial breakups, and life problems, there had been many nights that I prayed to the Lord to take me as I was too much of a coward to do it myself. And now, I have rediscovered the fire and drive of my youth. I am bound and determined to give this child a happy life. I can't wait to show and teach them the things that I was never taught or told. I am bound to continue on improving my health so that I have a better shot at making it far into adulthood. My #1 goal in life now is to someday unleash this kid out into the world educated, confident, empathetic, understanding, compassionate, happy and kind. I love them so much already. November can't get here fast enough. Update post 2+ months later, we had a gender reveal party on the day she was 20 weeks and found out we were going to be having a sweet little girl. This was on a Sunday. We were both over the moon and couldn't stop beaming leading up to our doctor's appointment a couple days later on Tuesday. Went in on Tuesday for the 20th week appointment. They did the anatomy scan. Baby was perfectly healthy, had all 10 fingers and toes, was estimated to be about 1/3 larger than the average expected at that date. Our doctor came in at the end of the appointment, said he saw on the ultrasound that my wife's cervix was shorter than he would like and that she had already dilated a cm. My wife, as always, remained as cool as a cucumber while my insides felt like a volcanic eruption. They admitted her to the hospital. Were set to perform a cerclage which they did the following day. To make a long story short, everything went incredibly well. Our doctor and the surgeon both seemed optimistic, though I know we are not completely out of the woods. They allowed us to go home after 4 days. My wife is expected to be on bed rest for the next 8 weeks and we have to go to the doctor every 2 weeks until our little girl arrives. We will also come back between 36 to 37 weeks where the cerclage will be removed and nature should then take its course. We officially hit 22 weeks today. Hopefully, the rest of this pregnancy will be super boring, and my next post will be about the arrival of our miracle little angel. Mini update in comments. A bit less than 2 months later, we just had a checkup at a little over 29 weeks and everything is going well. We had a brief mishap right after the reveal at the 20-week mark where she was in the hospital for a few days. They did a cerclage. She is currently home from work taking it easy, eating lots of tacos and binge watching Friends. I am running around like a madman making sure the house is literally perfect. Currently in the middle of painting and preparing the nursery as I type this. I will most certainly post an update. Update post 6.5 months, literally 2 days after my last post, at just past 20 weeks, we went to one of our doctor's appointments where they found my wife had dilated a centimeter, and her cervix was quite short. She was admitted immediately where they performed a cerclage. We spent a few scary days at the hospital but everything turned out fine and the pregnancy had progressed as it should. The cerclage was scheduled to be removed on October 28th. After everything that had occurred, the doctor figured our little girl would be here a little sooner than her expected 11/24 due date. We were expecting a possible Halloween baby. Fast forward a bit past the 34-week mark. Wednesday 10/16 was my birthday. I was awakened violently at 4:30 a.m. by my wife telling me that her water had just broken. Initially, I thought she was joking, but I could see in her eyes and demeanor that she was not. To make a long story short, we rushed to the hospital and approximately 12 hours later, our little girl arrived on the same day, in the same hospital that her pop-me had been born 41 years prior. At 4:16 p.m. our most precious tiger Lily came roaring into the world, weighing 5 pounds 4 ounces and measuring 18 inches. Being born at less than 35 weeks, she needed to be brought to the NICU. They currently have her hooked to a bubble CPAP, and 4 for preventative antibiotics, a feeding tube, and placed in what is for all intents and purposes, an incubator to keep her warm. She is already meeting or exceeding the metrics set forth by the hospital and her doctors. They have tripled her food intake in the last 40-ish hours. She is regulating her own body temperature, and they took her off the CPAP today. She is perfect, y'all. Her little features are so well defined that it is as if she was carved out of marble by a master Italian sculptor. Her eyes are as blue as the waters of the Caribbean. Skin as soft and flawless as freshly bloomed rose petals, and the aura of a star. We are so in love with this child that we can't even take our eyes off her. My wife and I would really like to thank everyone who has followed our family journey, especially those who have reached out offering kind words, prayers, and good vibes. I much love Reddit.